Good morning, children. So yes, on Saturday, what we did, that was a mixture of phospholipid plus the types of proteins which are present and how this is forms a sandwich-like structure. All this. So today we will start with the transport. The transport which is across the plasma membrane, and the transport is of two types: the passive transport and the active. So we start with the transport across the plasma membrane. So transport across the plasma membrane. The transport across the plasma membrane, and the two types of transport which is there is passive transport and active transport. The two types of transport which takes place is passive transport and the second type of transport is active transport. Now I'll tell you the difference between both the types of transport and what is this transport all about and how this transportation takes place by this. Now, passive transport is going along the concentration gradient. When we say going along the concentration gradient, that means in passive transport, no energy is required. In case of passive transport, no energy is required, and the movement of molecules is along the concentration gradient. Like when you are moving downhill, if you are running downhill, you don't need energy. Why? Because you are going on a easier side and you don't need energy. So same way, passive transport is along the concentration gradient in an easier side where no energy is required. And what is the form of energy in case of the cells? It is ATP. So this takes place without the use of ATP. Takes place without using ATP, which is the form of energy. Like the example I gave you, when you are running downhill, you don't need energy. You don't need to apply energy. You don't need to use energy because you are moving in an easier side. So same way, passive transport is along the concentration gradient. That means if something is too much here suppose something is too much, and if it has to go in another space where that particular thing is not, so it will easily move, it will easily diffuse, because here nothing is there, so that substance is not there here, so it will easily move in onto this side. The movement will be easier. But if there is something and that particular thing has to move into another area, and that particular area also has the number of that thing, so this movement is against the concentration gradient. And because already this substance is which was here, it is already here, and the transfer of this particular substance into this medium, it will not be easier because already they have this. So what will happen, that energy needs to be applied, so ATP will be applied to transfer this particular substance into this area. But if this substance is here, a substance is here, and another area is deficient of that substance, so it will be easier for the molecules, for the substance to get transfer from this area into this area. But here ATP will be required. This is what I want to tell you. Is it clear to you the way I have told you? Is it clear, children? Is it clear with this example? Yes, I want your response. Okay, so I'm getting the response, yes. So Here, in case of passive transport, this takes place without using energy, because this is the term which we use here, that ATP is not required. That means it is going along the concentration gradient. That is why. So here no ATP is required. ATP is not required, whereas in case of active transport, ATP is required. So ATP or energy dependent. This is ATP dependent. We can say this is ATP dependent. That means any form of energy is required for this process to take place. Then second point, the passive transport is slower. The rate of transport is slower. The rate of transport is slower because energy is not utilized. Here, the rate of transport is faster. In case of active transport, the rate of transport or the transport of molecules is faster. Now, another point of difference between the two, it is according to the concentration gradient, or we also say the movement of molecules is along the concentration gradient. Here, movement of molecule, movement of substance, also we can say movement of substance is along the concentration gradient. That means when the substance are moving, they move along the concentration gradient, and that means something which is higher somewhere will only move to its lower concentration. That means always from the higher concentration, a substance from the higher concentration will move towards the lower concentration. Substance from the higher concentration will move towards the lower concentration, and this is what known as along the concentration gradient. That means if you are going somewhere, okay, no, not you, see, if your younger brother, he doesn't have money, and he wants to buy something, and you are elder, you have money. If you have money, then only you will give money to your younger brother. Okay, you take this. Or if you have say 5 pence, your younger brother is or your younger sister, they don't use pen, they use pencils in their school because they are in the junior classes, and if they need pen, they will take from you because you have it. So because the concentration of pens is higher in you, whereas in your brother he doesn't have a pen, so he'll from there the pen will move towards your brother. That is from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. This is how I define for you. Then in this case, what happens, as I told you already, which is there, so this is opposite to it. So movement against concentration gradient, movement of substances is against concentration gradient. This is movement of substances against concentration gradient. Okay, then next is, in case of passive transport, it's not necessary that the two areas or the two types of substances, they are separated by a semi-permeable membrane. That means it's not necessary that a semi-permeable membrane is present. It's not necessary that it has to be there. So a semi-permeable membrane may or may not be present. Semi-permeable membrane separating the two substances, separating the two types of substances may or may not be present. May or may not be present. It's not necessary that they have to be there. Whereas in case of passive active transport, always the semi-permeable membrane is always present. So semi-permeable membrane is always present. The semi-permeable membrane, which separates the two types of substance, is always present. Now, another point of difference is, see, in case of passive transport, if the temperature
Excuse me,
rises,
ma'am.
if the metabolic inhibitors like the cyanides, cyanide is a metabolic
Ma'am.
inhibitor. That means
Excuse me, ma'am.
cyanide. Yes, beta.
Ma'am, can you please switch off that fan? Actually, it's creating sound a lot.
Okay, okay. Just a minute. You cannot hear me because of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Fine.
Thank you, ma'am.
Fine. So what I want to tell you is that if the temperature rises, if there are some metabolic inhibitors present, there is a term metabolic inhibitors. Metabolic inhibitors. Metabolic inhibitors means these are the substances which inhibits means stops, inhibits or blocks a biochemical reaction, which inhibits or blocks a biochemical reaction. Okay, when a biochemical reaction is blocked, any metabolic reaction or any biochemical reaction, when it is blocked, then we say that that particular substance which has blocked, which has stopped, which has inhibited that biochemical reaction is a metabolic inhibitor. Okay, like cyanide, cyanide, which is a poison. Cyanide is a metabolic inhibitor. This is one example. Cyanide is a metabolic inhibitor. If it is present, it blocks the biochemical reaction. That is why the death takes place. So cyanide is a metabolic inhibitor. So even if a metabolic inhibitor is present, or the temperature is reduced, or the oxygen concentration is reduced, or whether it is anaerobic conditions or aerobic condition, any condition is there, this does not affect the passive transport. Passive transport does not affected by any of these factors. So here, the three types of factors which I'm talking to you about is, the three factors which I'm telling you is, number one, low temperature, the factors like, number one, low temperature, number two, aerobic, that means presence of oxygen, aerobic or anaerobic conditions. The second factor, and the third factor is presence of metabolic inhibitors. These are the three factors we are talking about: the low temperature, aerobic or anaerobic conditions, or presence of metabolic inhibitors. All these three factors have no effect on this. I'm writing here, first I have written the factors with a star. Now I'm writing what is the effect of these factors on passive transport and on active transport. So in case of passive transport, these metabolic inhibitors, they show no effect. Okay, not affected. The passive transport is not affected by these metabolic inhibitors. Whereas this active transport is affected by the presence of metabolic Inhibitors. That means its rate slow down. Or anyway, sometimes what happens when the temperature is increased, the rate of active transport also increases. When the temperature decreases, the rate of active transport also decreases. So all these factors, they have an effect on the rate of active and passive transport. They are not passive transport, it's only active transport. These factors, low temperature, aerobic, anaerobic conditions, presence of metabolic inhibitors, they all affect the rate of active transport. Okay, now examples where the passive transport is seen and the examples where active transport is seen. So example where passive transport is seen is diffusion. Diffusion, you know, it's a process. You must have done it in class 9. Osmosis, diffusion, osmosis, facilitated diffusion, facilitated diffusion, or only two are more enough for you, diffusion and osmosis. Whereas in this case, when we see the examples of active transport is sodium potassium pump, which we have already done in case of when I was telling you the topic about the membrane. We have done sodium potassium pump. Okay, then we have only potassium pump, also somewhere calcium pump is also there, which is used in case of the movement, the contraction of muscles. So calcium pump is also there. Besides calcium pump, there is process of exocytosis, endocytosis, endocytosis. These all processes, they show active transport. So this is the difference between active transport and passive transport, which takes place during the movement of substances through the semi-permeable membrane. So anything in this which you want to understand, or anything you want me to repeat? Then I'll start with the next process. Osmosis through plasma membrane, which is a very important topic, how the osmosis takes place through plasma membrane. Okay, it's clear. I'm getting the message that it's clear. So now I move on to the next topic, which is osmosis. Osmosis. Before I start with osmosis, there is one more term, diffusion. The students whom I have taught before, I tell you a bigger definition, a different definition of osmosis and diffusion. I think the students, they still remember, the students whom I told you, Harsha Sanel, Priya Yadav. If you remember, you can just speak out. You all are unmuted today. Definition of diffusion. Let's start with diffusion. Yes. Yes, diffusion. How will you define diffusion? Anybody? How will you define diffusion, beta? Speak up. Okay, Priya Yadav, speak up, bache. If you remember. Yashika Bhardwaj.
Ma'am, may I tell?
Yes, who's that? Who's that?
Ma'am, may I speak?
Huh? Yes, who are you? May I know your name?
Amrita.
Huh?
Amrita.
Amrita. Yes, you can. Speak up.
The movement of solute particles from their higher concentration to the lower concentration without any membrane difference.
Okay. Yes. Yes. And one thing which is very important, which needs to be mentioned whenever we define such things, is what is the limit for how long that movement takes place. That movement takes place till, a uniformity in their distribution is achieved, till an equilibrium is achieved. Till then they keep on moving. Once that equilibrium is achieved, that movement stops. So diffusion is always the movement of particles from their higher concentration to their lower concentration without the presence of semi-permeable membrane or any membrane. And this movement continues till a uniformity in their I'm telling you diffusion first, movement of substance concentration in the absence of a semi-permeable membrane, till equilibrium, till an equilibrium in their distribution is achieved. Means they will keep on moving, till there is uniformity. That means if you burn an incense stick here, this is an incense stick which is burned over here. Suppose we have incense sticks which are attached to it. So we have incense sticks, agarbattis. So the smoke is coming out from it, and the fragrance near it is too high. That means the particles which are responsible for the fragrance which is coming from those incense stick is high near it. Now what happens? After some time, in the same room, or say in the adjoining veranda or adjoining area of that room, the fragrance will reach. The fragrance will reach. Now why this happened? The fragrance will reach. Why this happened? This happened because of diffusion. These particles which are responsible for the fragrance, they start moving from here to a place where they are less in number. Here they are more in number. That means the concentration, they are concentrated over here in this area, and here they are less in number. That means the substance is in dilute form in this area. So, or we can also say higher concentration, and they will start moving to the lower concentration. So this movement from the higher concentration to the lower concentration is known as diffusion. And you can see there is no permeable membrane between this particular, the area of production to where they are moving. There is no membrane present in between. It is just moving from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, and this movement will continue till this distribution is uniform. That means, say here we have 50 such particles which are responsible for this fragrance, or say 500 particles. Now they will keep on moving. Now a time will come when the number of particles here and here, they will become same. Suppose they become 250 here, 250 particles here, and in this area also 250 particles. That means equilibrium has been achieved. So when this equilibrium will be achieved, this movement, or which is diffusion in this case, it will stop. No more further diffusion of particles will take place. So that means the equilibrium has been attained. The equilibrium has been achieved. in the distribution. So till an equilibrium in their distribution is achieved or attained, this we call as diffusion. Now we come to another topic, which is diffusion, which is osmosis. So what happens in case of osmosis? Osmosis, diffusion can take place in any fluid. It can take place in any, but osmosis is always, in the fluids. Diffusion can take place, see, in the solid also, in the liquid also, but osmosis is always seen in case of fluid, either gases or liquids. Anything which moves, which flows, is known as a fluid. Anything which flows is known as a fluid. That means it can be observed in gases, it can be observed in case of liquids. So what happens in case of osmosis? When any substance is present in liquid, in fluid form, we have solute and we have solvent. We have solute and we have solvent. So we will describe this particular process in the terms of solvent. Okay, because here the solvent is mixed in the solute and solute will move along with the solvent. So here we will describe the process in terms of solvent. Now, suppose we have a container which is separated. This is a container. This is a container. And this container has two compartments, which is separated by a semi-permeable membrane. This is the semi-permeable membrane. Okay, and here we have water in it. We have a fluid in it. Okay, so here we have a fluid in it. This is container A, two compartments of the container A and B, which is separated by a semi-permeable membrane, and we have a solution in it. Now what happens? See, suppose we have, say, 2000 water molecules in this container, water molecules. We are taking the solvent. And here again we have 2000 water molecules. So number of water molecules present in both the solutions is 2000. Now, along with this water molecule, we have solute also. We mix some solute in it. We mix some solute in both the water molecules, in water in both the compartments. We mix some solute. Let's take that solute to be sugar. So suppose we mix here, say 100 sugar molecules. 100 sugar molecules. And here we mix, suppose 200, say 250 sugar molecules. So we have added up the sugar molecules, 100 in one case in chamber A and 250 in chamber B. Now, one molecule of sugar will mix with one molecule of water. They will combine with one molecule of water, and thus in the compartment A, how many free water molecules will be left now? Because 100 sugar molecules are there, 2000 was already there. So in this case, we are left with 1000